Greetings. Welcome to Into the Light. My name is Donald Schmid, and the topic of today's show is starting over. Life can be interesting at times. It's kind of like being in a baseball game, that you're the batter and everything's okay. The last time up, you got a hit. Now this time, life throws you a curveball, and you are filled with extreme anxiety, depression, and resentments, not knowing what to do next. Today I will share with you some of life's curveballs and how by the grace of God I was able to overcome them. Life isn't always fun and it's not always easy. People enter into our lives and relationships and friendships, and then they move on, they move out of your life, and we deal with not knowing what to do with anger, or was it our fault, or how come it came to an end. I want to share how God brought me through several situations and how I wound up on Staten Island. On July 2nd, 2012, I landed in Staten Island after spending 15 months at the Dole Fund, also known as Ready, Willing, and Able in Bushwick, Brooklyn. Prior to that, I spent a month on my friend's couch. I had lost my apartment. One of the women from church took all my furniture and she was kind enough to put it in her garage. And later on, when I was in the shelter, I told her, whatever stuff is good, sell it and keep the money, because when you don't have a place to go and you don't know what's next, it could be very unsettling. There was a time where I was working in Manhattan and something happened. I was working as a doorman and something happened on a Sunday night. And on Monday morning, when I came in to come to work, they told me that I was fired and I no longer had a job. And what they did was they took all my stuff out of my locker, my shoes, my boots and everything, and they put it in a plastic bag. And I was so distraught that I had this big plastic bag and that's all I had, and I had an apartment in Ozone Park at the time, and I was just knocked out. And when I came here for the shelter, all I had was a large black bag with all my belongings in it. And I had a bed in a small room. There were two bunk beds in a room. And I had the lower bunk, and prior to that, I had been in the shelter, and it was a Saturday morning, and I was out and about on Flushing Avenue, and it was dark and raining, and I bumped into a woman who I hadn't seen in over 10 years, and I told her I was in a shelter and ready, willing, and able, and she said that she had some friends that had a church at 360 Schermerhorn Street in Brooklyn, and they might have a bed. So we talked, I thanked her, and then after a while I went to church there. I took the bus there, and I met a woman who said, I have a place if you want it in Staten Island. And I told her, well, I really don't want to live in Staten Island. But here I had been 15 months in a homeless shelter and they wanted me out. And I was going to be starting over, but I didn't know how, when, or where I was going to be starting over. And I had just brilliantly said, God, send me anywhere, but don't send me to Staten Island. Ta-da! So it wasn't so bad. At the time, it was different. You know, there was a dump here and everything, and I vowed not to live on Staten Island and not to date anybody from New Jersey or Staten Island. I wound up dating a woman from New Jersey who lived 50 miles away, and we had a relationship back and forth from Ozone Park to New Jersey. But now this woman I thought about it for like 18 minutes, and I said, you know what? I'd like to look at it. I'd like to look at the place. And the place, we had the whole house. There were a couple other guys living there. There was a porch and everything. It was really nice, and it was affordable. And the driver for Ready, Willing, and Able dropped me off. It was about 10 after 3 in the afternoon. It was a Monday. It was July 2nd. I thanked him. I had some money. Because when you're working in the shelter, they give you this card, and they put your pay on your card every week. And I was making, I think I was making $216 a week, and 100 went to rent, 30 went towards something else, and 90 went into my pocket. You know, so I was able to bless the driver. But little did I know that things would unfold that were not only beneficial to me, but beneficial to the people that I had yet to meet. And I came out of the house. There was a bodega right across the street. Like I said, it was a Monday. Bodega, and I wanted to get something to eat because I was hungry and I didn't know the area. I didn't know anybody. I only knew the landlord and the manager of the house who showed me the house prior to me taking it. And I come out of the house and the landlord from next door is there, and he says, welcome, you know, to Staten Island. He said, what's up? I says, I was going to the bodega, but the bodega was closed. He says, you want to get something to eat? I says, yeah. So he says, come on. He puts me in a car. He drives me to a Chinese place, gives me a $20 bill, and he says, get whatever you want and bring me the change. And that was the beginning of a relationship with the pastor who had a church, or still has a church, in Manhattan. And I spoke at that church in December of 2012, right before I had right knee replacement. One of the benefits of being homeless and not having a place to go is you're eligible for Medicaid. And as a result of being eligible for Medicaid, I could have a total knee replacement without fear of being in debt from that. There was just so much pain from the knee, you know, that they gave me some stuff. They said it wasn't addictive, you know, and then the hands on the clock started to go backwards. So I stopped taking it, and I started taking Tylenol extra strength. But life is going to throw us curveballs, and we're not going to know what's always going on or what's ahead. And there's stories in the Bible where people go through things and God makes a way where there seems to be no way. He works in ways we cannot see. He's no respecter of persons, you know. It's no fun starting over. And chapters come to an end in our lives and we don't know what's next. You know, and so I was in Staten Island I went to a church. I met somebody who knew somebody, and they invited me to International Christian Center at 1501 Richmond Avenue. And I've been going there ever since. And I believe God knows the beginning, the middle, and the end of all our lives. It's just that we don't see the moments in between. And the timing was impeccable because Superstorm Sandy showed up in October of 2012, and we were out lights at my house for like 4 days. And then the fifth night, I stayed at the church in the basement, and that was the night that the the lights came on. It was right around Halloween. I think Superstorm Sandy made their grand entrance on the 27th of October, and I got to help out with disaster relief at the, giving out supplies and everything, and doing inventory and being involved and seeing the people come in who gave other people hope. And now the benefit that had happened to me was in 2011, because I had already lost everything and was starting over, when their houses by the shore were devastated, I could tell them what had happened to me a year prior, or a year and 3 months prior, to give them hope. And I use hope as an acronym. And the H is for honestly. The O is for offering. The P is for personal. And the E is for experience. I honestly offer my personal experience to give people hope. And I was waiting for a car today, and it was a problem with the car. Or when I take Lyft, it shows you they'll be here in a few minutes. But I wasn't sure. I don't like being late for anything. And I like to time it so that I'm not really early, because I'm an early person. I'll show up really early and then wait somewhere till it's time to go in. And the woman finally shows up through no fault of her own. Like the Lyft thing wasn't working right. And I told her I had a YouTube channel. And she says, wow, that's pretty fascinating. I was just talking to my husband this morning on how I would like to share her story with other people. And I says, wow, I said, that's called a divine appointment. And sometimes out of nowhere, God will just put people in our lives like a gentle little nudge to let us know that it's going to be okay. The problem is we want it to be okay now. And we don't know when it's going to be okay. So today I just put one foot in front of the other and breathe. Because I don't know what tomorrow holds, but I know who holds tomorrow. So I met this pastor there who I would come and I would help, and he had a small office, and I would help out in the pantry, and I would help out in the men's fellowship. And to this day, he's been a bright and shining light in my life. And I'm very thankful for him. He was there the whole time. He'd come, he'd pick me up, take me to the church, take me home, took me to doctor's appointments, picked me up from the hospital in NYU in the church van, which probably wasn't a great idea because I didn't want to, if I would have took, like an ambulette or something, they would have had a gurney or something to take me out. But we get to it was a little tough getting out of the van because of the bandage on the knee and everything. And the wheelchair wasn't working properly, and the orderly wasn't doing what I thought he should be doing. And I said to the nurse, I want to speak to a supervisor. And I was informed that who I thought was an orderly actually was the supervisor. So, and it's funny because the name of the number of my bed was 316. And there's a popular verse in the Bible, John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he sent his one and only Son to die for us so that we could live. I had a mentor in my life maybe 20, 21 years ago, 22 years ago, when he said to me, he says, Donald, he said something like, get out of your way. Your life is no longer your own. And I had surrendered my life, and I had asked Jesus to come into my life. And in 2015, I got to go to Israel for a week during Thanksgiving. And there was this beautiful picture and this beautiful beach, and I took the picture near the aqueduct, where the water runs through it and everything. And I met up with my mentor, but what had happened was he had scheduled to meet the two of us at the same time and inadvertently didn't tell us. So I met him, and he says, is it okay, if the three of us meet for coffee? I said, sure. I felt like it was okay. So the other guy was a rabbi. He was like really nice. He was also a doctor. And he lives in Israel. And we were talking, and I felt led to show him my phone. And the screensaver had a picture of the Mediterranean Sea. The blue waters, they were coming, rolling in. It's actually the background that you're watching now. And I said to him, I says, does this look familiar? He says, yeah. He says, I just got back from Israel, and my daughter got married. I said, where'd she get married? And he pointed to the screensaver, said, she got married right there. And I had over 2,000 pictures in my phone. And I still have this picture for 5 years. I had it on my laptop. I have it on my, into the light. I'm fixing to go back. I don't know when I'm going to go back. But I'm a firm believer that when God wants us to go or do something, it's in his timing. His timing is perfect. He got me here in 2012 just in time to serve others, the Superstorm Sandy, to meet the pastor, to meet the men's group, to go to Binghamton that year. The first time I set foot in ICC was August 31st, 2012. On September 1st, the men's had a men's breakfast in the basement. And then 3 weeks later, I was in Binghamton with them on a retreat. I don't like the word retreat because I don't think Christian men should retreat. We should advance. And Into the Light, the show has been inspirational to people around the world. And I'm not bragging about that, but I'm bragging about God and his technology, how we're able to hit a button and send it to England and send it to Ireland and send it to Switzerland. And then somebody who has a friend who has a friend who has a friend, and they send it to them. So when I was in the shelter, they said, what do you want to be? Because they were giving classes. I said, I'm a worldwide evangelist. They said, well, we don't have that here. So what happens was, as a result of Into the Light in the studio, at the press of a button, they can see me. And if you like a show and you like something about it, there's a YouTube channel, and I have Donald.Schmid54@gmail.com. Get in touch with me. Let me know what happened. I don't know what tomorrow holds, but I know who holds tomorrow. And I believe that we're blessed to be a blessing. And if I put one foot in front of the other and breathe, that's all I'm responsible for. I was looking for an excuse not to do the show today. And the wind was coming down like 40, 50 miles an hour. It was a couple inches of rain an hour, and it was like a good excuse to stay in bed and not come. But I got in touch with somebody who's wiser than I am, who I met when I went to England, and they just said, I'm praying for wisdom for you. And I think that somebody needs to hear this story, and they need to hear this story now. So I'm grateful that I was able to sit in front of you and tell you the truth. Because like I said, the curveballs are going to come, and we don't know. Relationships are going to come, relationships are going to go. But I just know that God will make a way where there seems to be no way. He works in ways we cannot see. He'll make a way for me. So another time I was in my house, and I was in my basement. It was right before the homeless shelter. And I was listening to a Christian radio station, and they were talking about Nyack College. And I felt like I was supposed to call up the admissions office at Nyack College. And I called up and I spoke to the woman. I said, God told me to call you. Now, I didn't know she was a Christian. So I went. I had an interview, I think, like the same day or the next day. This is when they were on Broadway. And wound up getting a $20,000 scholarship. The semester was starting on the 25th or 26th of January. And I still had my apartment. In February, I lost my apartment. I wound up on my friend's couch. And then I wound up in a shelter. And I was juggling. I didn't know how I could juggle Ready, Willing, and Able at Nyack College. So I went to the financial officer, Mr. Foster, and I said, Mr. Foster, I says, you know, I need a roof over my head, and I got the scholarship, and I'm going to class and everything. But when I was there, I was just there because they would like doing assignments, and I would always put the assignment off. And I always thought I had time, like I was procrastinating. And we went to the main campus in Nyack. We broke down into small groups, and I met the other freshman class, and they were looking forward to graduating in 4 years. And I was just like, I believe God in his infinite wisdom had me there for that moment, for the teachers, the staff, and the students. And the president of the school was a firm believer in treat everybody the same way. Be nice to security, be nice to the janitors, because you never know who they are. You know, there was this TV show, Touched by an Angel, and it had this famous singer, and he was playing the part of a janitor. And then years later, God, again, in his infinite wisdom, in the early 2000s, I wound up getting a job in the garment district in Manhattan between like 7th and 8th Avenue, working in an 18-story building, you know, cleaning floors and cleaning bathrooms. And if God brings you to it, he's going to bring you through it. And there's no drive-through breakthroughs. You got to go through to get through. You know, he knows where you're at. He knows what you're going through. Ask him to put people in your life that have been where you are now. You may be grieving. You may be lost a friendship, lost a friend. Somebody moves. You're having difficulty with your children or your spouse. And God will make a way. And I said that over and over and over again. And I didn't believe it, but I said it. God will make a way. God will make a way. God will make a way. And then gradually, things started to get better. You know, when I sit before you a free man, and I'm just grateful to be able to. I want to do what God wants me to do, and I want to be where God wants me to be. And I don't have to know anything else. I know I'm going to be here at 4 o'clock. I don't have to know where I'm going to be at 10 after 4. And he continues to put people in my life. You know, I was on a train once, and there was this Jewish woman, and she was on the R train, and we're talking. And I said, I went to Israel. And she says, oh, I'm from Israel. I says, oh, yeah. I said, I was in Jerusalem, and I stayed in the Hotel Dan. She said, oh, I worked in the Hotel Dan. So to have a woman who was from Israel, who was on the R train, at the same time Donnie was on the R train, going to parts unknown to share a story, that's how God works. Another time I was on a platform in a train, and a guy comes up to me, he says, excuse me, sir, do you have a fork? It's like, do I have a fork? What is this, a cafeteria? So I had a fork and I gave it to him. Listen, God will make a way where there seems to be no way. If you don't know Jesus as your Lord and Savior, it's real simple. Romans 10:9 and 10 says, he believes in his heart and confesses with his mouth that Jesus is Lord shall be saved. Say, Jesus, please forgive me a sinner. Forgive me, for I was a sinner. Thank you for taking my sins. And get into a community. And we're glad you're here. Thank you, and we'll see you next time on Into the Light. God bless you all.